Welcome to LDSBookReviews.com. My name is Ryan Daly, and today we are actually reviewing a book that I was really excited to review. I was excited to read, and ultimately was a little disappointed in. Well, very disappointed in. And that is The Book of the Law of the Lord, translated by James E. Strange. Okay, I'm not going to bury this lead. This is a one-star book for most in the LDS community. I'm going to say that I'm pretty open-minded. I'm very open-minded, and really enjoy reading sacred texts from all over the world in any category. And if you've looked at my other reviews, you see I'm very open-minded. I love to read different ideas. One of the elements that I think was challenging with this book, or something that I was excited about, was its place in LDS history. So to give you a little bit of background, after the martyrdom of Joseph Smith, James Strang, I guess, I pronounce it strange, but it's probably Strang, he was someone who challenged the authority of Brigham Young and also sought to gain rights to leading the church. Okay, he did get a small movement that went north and went up to Voorhee, and at that time, there, for a number of reasons, there's challenges on getting access to the Book of Mormon for publication issues, which I'll address probably in another blog at some point. But in 1856, he published a book called the Book of the Law of the Lord. And not necessarily intentionally to replace the Book of Mormon, but he claimed to have been given portions of the plates of brass in which he translated the Book of the Law of the Lord from Moses that was on the plates of brass and published it. And this became a standard work of his branch off called the Strangites. Okay? It's a small organization now, still exists, a smaller group of followers, not the most popular branch off from the church, but I was intrigued. And so I got a copy of it, which is actually very hard to come by. You can find it online for free from the Strangite website, but to get an actual physical copy is difficult. This is actually a second edition of the 1856 reprint that was done in 1948. And these are pretty rare and hard to come by in and of themselves. Small, cute little book. And in here, what you find is you find bits and pieces of the translation that supposedly came from the Book of the Plates of Brass, as well as some commentary pretty much to justify such words, right? In this, I'm going to give it 1 star. And the reason I'm giving 1 star is for those of you who are familiar with the Book of Mormon and other sacred texts, it is lacking significantly. It is not interesting. It is not well thought out. It is not something that inspires. It gives very little additional information. And all the commentary seems to require justification. So they do go so as far as to have commentary to justify the words that are saying. In essence, I believe this was more or less to try to justify or prove that James Strang was a prophet, less actually contributing to the religious thought of the day. As I read it, I was not only not impressed, I had a hard time. I felt guilty not feeling impressed. It just, there's no reason to read it. I just wouldn't recommend it to anybody. I read through it. There just wasn't anything there to be like, oh, that's interesting, or that's a new thought, or why was this even in existence? I have a hard time with it. So I don't mean to offend, and I don't mean by any means to minimize anyone's faith, but I really have a challenge with it myself. I don't believe it was inspired, and I don't have any confidence that in Brother James E. Strange. Okay. With that being said, what I would do is say, but all this intrigues you, still don't read it. It just doesn't matter. So again, 1 star, you can stay away from it, you can avoid it, you can pretend like it never existed. It's a unique part in LDS history, a branch off someone who claimed to get the mantle from Joseph previous to his martyrdom. And this was, I think, his attempt to prove that he also was a translator, ultimately kind of a flop. So I think anyone who sees this, who does read it, will probably more or less read it to be intrigued about the storyline, of Mr. Strang, who also later would get martyred by his own people. And with that, I'll leave that. I've always feel a little uncomfortable, honestly, criticizing a sacred text of a faith. It's really hard for me to do. But genuinely speaking, hey, at least with the LDS community, there is no value at all in reading the text. There's value in understanding the historical implications. It's interesting, it's unique, but there's no value in the text at all for the LDS community. Again, I'm just saying, gearing this particularly to those in the LDS community. Uh, and if you're not part of it, then you may find some interest in it. You might find it intriguing. Okay. Again, if you can't tell, I'm very uncomfortable saying it, but I have a hard time finding any value in the text at all. So with that being said, uh, thank you. And really the most awkward review I've ever done. So I didn't even give details in the book. It's not even worth really talking about. Okay, I'm sorry. With that, thank you for watching. And if you like this or would like to see other reviews, please follow us on ldsbookreviews.com. I'm Ryan Daly. Thanks again.